All right, let's come back closer to home and life as a breaker. You're an original, weren't you?
Yeah, I was an original.
Found
one of the originals.
Well, you must be very pleased about how far they went in your time and continue to be so.
Just an amazing experience. You know, I had 8 years with them. Started, you know, obviously from scratch, and all the problems, teething issues, and things that we went through. As individuals, as players, as a team, as you know, management across the board, it was a new experience for all of us. So we're all learning how this professional sort of thing runs and how it's supposed to work. So,
and how difficult it is to succeed in an Australian competition. The Warriors and the Kings before them, and then the Phoenix. It's a tough environment.
It is a tough environment, and all those, you know, you go in with an expectation of what it might be like, but it's never the same. You know, I've found that whenever you haven't experienced anything firsthand, it's always different. You know, whether it's better or worse than what you think, it's always different than what you expect. So,
is it tough at the start because it takes time to get to play to that level, or is the travel a factor for New Zealand teams because we're obviously the furthest?
Yeah, I think all of the above. You know, it takes a while to get used to having to get your passport out on every road trip and go through customs and, you know, travel. You know, sometimes it's only 3 hours to Sydney, but, you know, you go over to Perth and, you know, that's quite a haul. Yeah. You go up to Cairns even, and that's quite a haul. You know, there's not many direct flights, you know, working out which airline's the best to go, you know, all those sort of things. So it's just, it takes a bit of getting used to. I mean, you look at a team like Perth, and they have to do the same. They don't have to go through customs, but they've got to travel a fair whack to play. And they've made the playoffs in the Australian League 26 years in a row. So they figured it out. Yeah. They figured it out, and it's not a big issue. And I think where we made a turning point with the Breakers is that we came to the realisation is that it is what it is. You know, that's just what you do. You put sort of systems and procedures in place to help you combat the sleeping issues, the travel issues, the hydration issues, all those sorts of things. But first and foremost, it's just part of what you do, and so it's not. Then mentally, it doesn't become a drag, or it doesn't sort of pull you down. And once we sort of got over those sort of mental barriers, you realise that it's just another game. It's just another day. You've played these guys before, and you go about your business. And yeah, like I said, I think that was a big turning point for us.
Because you went from being a good battling team, did okay some days, not others, had the crowd some days, not others, to suddenly not suddenly being a championship team, but how many years do you think before you started to think, actually, we could win this?
Yeah, I guess we figured it out over time. And I mean, going back to the first year, I think part of our problem and our expectations going in is because the bulk of the team had played for the Tall Blacks, and it was right at the time where we'd achieved some really special things. We beat an Aussie, we'd become fourth at the World Champs. How hard can it be going into an Australian League and getting some wins and winning this competition? So we actually went in 2003 thinking, we're going to win this thing. You know, we won our first game. It was probably the worst thing that could have happened, and I think we lost 11 straight or something after that.
That's right, did good at it.
And so, yeah, I guess to answer your question, you know, when did we start getting it right? I mean, it was a good 4 or 5 years into the program where we started to put things in place. You know, we'd been through 3 coaches by then, and the management stuck with Andre through thick and thin. Even he struggled a little bit the first couple of years. Really started to buy into some of the visions that he had in terms of making it all feel right, and the management had those same visions, and the ownership and those sorts of things. We started to recruit some quality players and people. Got Coop Penny back, and you know, we got Coop Penny into the group. We brought in some Australians like Tony Ronaldson and CJ Bruden, guys that were proven winners in that competition, and you started to build a culture and a winning culture, and have those sort of expectations away from the floor as well. And you know, again, it starts building, and and you start to realise that you know, we're not that far away, you know, and you know, luckily enough for me, the success came right at the very best moment, just before I was about to walk away.
Do you think there was more satisfaction than if you had won in the first year because of all the work that went in, and you thought, wow, the payoffs come?
Definitely. I think, you know, especially for myself, and there was, you know, our GM, Richard Clark, and one of the office girls who's been there right from day one, Debbie Carpenter, or Debbie Howard she is now. So the three of us have been there from the start. You know, we had guys like Dylan and Mick had come back, who'd been at the start, they'd sort of gone away and had their experiences and come back. But, you know, for me in particular, to be there from day one and go through everything, to get to a chance where we could win it, and we did win it, was, yeah, it did make it that much more special.
Did it make it harder to walk away, or had you already decided that that was going to be it, win or lose?
No, it made it easier, to tell you the truth. I mean, I'd already made my mind up, you know, before my last season that I was going to do it. You know, I hadn't won one up until then. Obviously, everyone wants to go out on a winning note, but there's very few people that can say that they've done that. But I was at peace with my decision and what I was going to. I was starting a new chapter of my life once I'd finished, and again, you know, I was you know, a little bit lucky in terms of what we were able to do, and we were able to come away with a win.
I mean, you're still a relatively young man. You could play now if you wanted to, couldn't you?
Well, not now. I've been sitting on my butt for too long, I think, for over a year and a half.
You can still shoot a few baskets, we've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think I could have played for another year or two quite comfortably, but, you know, the body, that, you know, all those years of, you know, running on the hardwood does take its toll. And, you know, from about 2003, 2002, I was pretty much playing basketball all year round. And at the time, I felt great for the first, you know, 3 or 4 years. But after a while, it's just, you know, I had surgeries on my knees, had an ankle clean out, and, you know, quite a defining moment was, you know, one day in Auckland, I was walking along one of the beaches on the North Shore, and we just sort of went to walk up a slight rise to get up to the road, and, you know, my ankle just pretty much, you know, gave way, and it's, you know, it was during the season, and I just sort of thought, you know, if I keep going for another 2 years and taking pills and just sort of managing my body through those 2 years, you know, what kind of effect is that going to have on me 10, 15 years down the track? So that started to weigh heavily on my mind, and in the end I just thought, you know, it's probably better off that I'll put my focuses, and, you know, the coaching opportunity in Hawke's Bay sort of came, so it just all seemed to fit, you know, came about the right time. It just seemed like good timing, and, you know, once I got my head around it, I mean, playing basketball was such a huge part of my life for such a long time, so it wasn't easy sort of getting over the line and making that decision, but once I had made it, I was comfortable with it, and, you know, I had support from my family and from the Breakers as well, and from the club, so in that regards, it made it a whole lot easier.
All right, before we talk about that coaching and how you got here, I just want to touch on a couple of international or overseas experiences you've got with foreign clubs. Serbia, time then, what was basketball like in that environment? Well,
Serbia's, you know, one of the powerhouses all time in basketball, and again, it was just a lucky chance. Nenad Vucinic, the current All Blacks coach, had picked up a job at one of the clubs playing in the first division over there, and this was just after the 2002 World Champs. And I was back in Hawke's Bay, working and bumming around. You know, Breakers went around, so it was at a time where most basketballs in New Zealand, we played for about 4 or 5 months of the year, and then we worked and tried to fill in time. I was actually playing rugby league at the time as well, and I got a call from Nenad, and he said, you know, I've got an opportunity when my point guard's gone down. I want you to come over. I just, you know, got a few things to work out. But I thought, great. I mean, I was since the World Champs in 2002, I was kind of looking for an opportunity to start playing and make a career out of it. So I jumped at the chance, and I just loved it. I went over there, and
would it be NBL standard or Breaker standard, somewhere in between? What sort of, how to put it in perspective for us?
Quite a lot higher than both of those.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, different to the Australian League, but you know, again, across the board, you've got a lot more size. The Americans that you bring in, you know, because there's a lot more money in that part of the world in basketball.
That's right, yeah.
So they pump a lot more money into quality players, and so the level was quite good.